Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the E3 podcast. I'm Melissa Johnson. Today we have Dr. Erin Hudson, and I'm really excited to have her on the show today. She's doing some amazing things here in my backyard in San Antonio, and we were kind of talking about being shocked that we haven't got to meet in person yet. I had no idea you were in town.
Yes. Well, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me today, Melissa.
Yeah. So let's just get started. You could share with everybody a little bit about who you are and what you're doing and where you're at now.
Awesome. Yep. So my name, as she said, is Erin Hudson, and I am a proud mom of 5 beautiful children that I have. At times, my patience level is up to here and I tap out, but as much as they are hard work, it's the most rewarding thing is having children, getting to be a mom, for sure. But my history really is just coming from being a doctor of chiropractic back in Southern California, having a couple wellness centers. And don't get me wrong, I absolutely loved it. We have, 30 team members back in the practice. And it was really just pouring into their lives. But with that comes a little bit of pressure simply because when you're running a 5-figure monthly payroll, there can be a little bit of stress to that. Being the owner, you're the last to get paid. And so anyhow, in practice along the way, I found out about this so-called thing of mailbox money in the single family space and got started in 2015 and was really just on fire, not only for myself, but for my children, to be able to equip them with the tool sets that I never had as a child, that I thought, holy smokes, if I hone in on this, I can't even imagine how much more of an upper hand my 5 children will have that I never had. And it's not about poor me and how sad for me. My life was great, don't get me wrong. But my parents had no idea, nor did they ever teach us how to take our seed money and how important it was to grow that and duplicate it. And once I found out how important and how easy it was my job now to massively equip my children. And that is really what got me on fire to move in this space, and went from single family, owning 26 rental properties within 2 years, acquiring some of them in an extremely strategic fashion. And then fast forward, moved into the multifamily space where I have the pleasure of working with my team of Quattro Capital with the most strategic, brilliant partners ever. And we are doing some great things in a place and a space that I absolutely love. So that's a little bit about me, Miss Melissa.
And hey, I didn't know you had 5 kids too. So do I.
Yes.
You always get the I feel like I always get the, oh, wow, you have 5 kids. Wow.
You do. You just get used to it, right?
You do. Yeah. Do you have any twins or multiples in there at all? Or is it just?
No, I don't. My youngest is 5. My oldest just turned 22. And then I have some sprinkled throughout that. So
Nice.
Yeah.
I've got twins that are 22.
Oh my gosh. You look amazing. Can we please rub elbows? I want to look like you.
I think you look amazing.
That is amazing.
Especially with this tropical background you got going on there. I want to be there.
Right? So I was going to invite you over to see if you wanted to have a pina colada underneath the tree. I figure we could break bread together.
Later.
Right?
Definitely. That's awesome. You said something in there talking about the things that you want to teach your kids and stuff and how they would have a leg up on everything. And I was actually talking to somebody on a podcast about that yesterday, about how we're raised. And it's such a generational thing, right? Like our parents were so about, let's, go get your education and get a very good, secure job. And let's just play it safe and work at the job till you die. And then you retire and then you die. It's just not, and I'm thinking, this doesn't seem very fun, And so that was something that, talking about mindset and things like that, having to relearn, you don't have to fit that mold. You don't have to live that life. You don't have to, go for some job that you friggin' hate, that you go to work every day and you do the same thing every day and you come home and it's the same thing. It's like Groundhog Day, right? Over and over again. That's what I love most about being an entrepreneur is that freedom that we have. So tell me what you're doing with your kids with investing. What are you teaching them about it?
Yeah, so well, I started in the single family space in 2015, and I don't want to get too far in the weeds with it, but just a high level. I'm sure many know that you can invest in real estate with your Roth IRA. And my daughter at the time, she was 16 and she had a Roth IRA. And I don't know about you, but my children don't want to hear it from mom, right? They
Yep.
want to hear it from somebody else. They're more apt to listen. But one thing I do know is that kids love options. And so what we did is we said, look, Riley, you've got $5,000 in your bank account right now. And I know you just turned 16 and I know that you want to buy yourself a car, but let's just talk about this for a second. And so we said, look, owning a car, you're going to have insurance. Owning a car, you're going to have to fill it up with gas. You're going to have to maintain it. It really is a liability. But what if you could take that $5,000, put it in your Roth IRA? Furthermore, you can buy this property. We helped her out, but we were able to position it so that she could buy it with her Roth IRA. And what if you could buy this house and have it pay you $500 a month? And so she was like, well, I really want this car. And I said, well, listen, don't worry about it right now. Sleep on it. But what I will tell you is if you opt for buying that house, we'll let you use our car where we'll be paying the gas and we'll be paying the insurance. So no pressure. Let us know what you decide tomorrow. We'll just go from there. So again, kids love choices. She woke up the next morning and was like, I really don't want to do it, but I want to do it. And fast forward, she ended up buying this home at age 16. The beauty, folks, or parents, I should say, with it being in the Roth IRA, is when kids get, well, let's just call it when you get your rent, right? And kids get their hands on money, what do they want to do? They want to go to the liquor store like we did when we were kids. They want to buy the junk. They want to go to Forever 21. They want to buy the clothes, right?
Yep.
So what better way than to put it in a vehicle where they can't touch it? It's a set it and forget it, and the rent goes in directly every single month. So that's what we did. She bought that house, and fast forward 3 months ago, she just sold that house and she just got in her first syndication in a 110 unit apartment building. So it's about equipping our kids. So that's how it all got started.
And she's 22 now, right? Is it the 22-year-old?
Sure. Yep.
Wow. Okay. So question, did you tell her she couldn't touch that monthly mailbox money every month ahead of time? Did she know that beforehand?
We did, but because it's the Roth IRA, we shared with her why it was going to be so beneficial.
Mhm.
Riley, could you imagine putting that money in your Roth IRA and every single rental payment that comes in, you never have to pay $1 of taxes? Could you imagine? Mom and dad are taxed at 40%. Could you imagine having a tax of 0? And so it was a matter of educating. It was teaching moments, right?
Mhm.
And not, you know, of course they're sad that they are not touching it, but that's okay. Let's find another avenue so we can make more money passively for you, and then you can have a piece of that, right? So that's how it really started.
Well, and then it's like, they do enough of that stuff. They kind of forget about it over time. Like when you get those things coming in like that, it's not in the forefront of your mind anymore. It's just, you get caught up with life and stuff like that. And you can just imagine like checking your balance one day and you're like, whoa, this is
Sure.
great.
Yep.
Has she had
Exactly.
any of those moments where she's just like, wow?
Yeah, she did. And I think it's also, again, teaching moments. The tax bill would come in and she would have to reach out to the IRA company to make sure that she filled out the document for them to pay. So it gives them a sense of responsibility and how to navigate in this crazy world that we have on a small scale compared to us adults, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was really that. And of course, then my other kids got a little bit older, and, my boy turned 16 and my daughter was 14. And the conversation came up around the dinner table of, look, hey, I'm 16. What about me? Is it my turn? You helped Riley, right? And so it's just been one of those. We've moved on to the next child and created opportunities for them as well. So it's been pretty exciting and fun in the Hudson house over here.
That does sound fun. So they're investing too now?
Yeah, they started both. We got my 14-year-old, she wasn't 16 and she's already started. Yeah, we actually have a company called Live Uncontained, and we sell the shipping containers that are used for short-term rentals as Airbnb, experiential stay type living. And so each of the kids have their own Airbnb container home on our 5 acres. And so they actually run their own Airbnb, meaning that what better way to get your kids in the game at a very low barrier, meaning like $35,000 to buy a completely fitted out shipping container home. And so here was the deal that we made with them. We said, look, we will pay for all of it, but all the proceeds are going to be split 50-50. And in order for you to get your 50%, you have to respond to every guest that inquires about their stay, review their stay, link up with the cleaner to make sure she's got the cleaning on point. And if we have to chime in at any point, we get that 50% proceed from that stay. And so sure enough, it teaches them, listen, are we missing the interaction with adults and kids and so on and so forth? They are. So what better way to keep them in the limelight of communicating and having to be in the forefront of that? And furthermore, it teaches them about responsibility. They have to be on their A game and check things and make sure they're being kind and helpful and welcoming for that matter, right? And sometimes they just tend to lose the tact of those conversations in general. And so not only that, it goes fast forward when it's time to get paid for all their monthly stays. They have to create an Excel spreadsheet with all of their payouts, and then it's a trust but verify, right? So I've got one child that came in last week and said, hey mom, you owe me $3,425.64.
Wow.
And I've got the other child that is like, it needs help with the spreadsheet. She's not my little analytical like the other, but it's been awesome to be able to put the ball in their court and see how they run their little machines. So
yeah, I love that. And that's a great strategy, and that's a great learning tool, like opportunity for them, like you said, you set up the Roth IRA and then they're investing out of it. And can you imagine several years from now where they'll be and what they'll have learned?
Right.
It's just amazing. So have you been working with them? Because I know we talked a little bit, about mindset, and that's something that I go back to often, especially coaching clients. Like we always start with mindset. It's just so important. So what do you feel like they've learned about mindset from all this? Or do you have conversations with them about that, being in the business and kind of like understanding like when things don't work out, how to deal with it and just things like that?
Yeah, I would say, like, for example, even just with mindset, and really we're really big about telling our money where to go. And if we don't, it will find a place, right? And usually it's cash in the trash.
Yeah.
And so just at a very young age, we really instilled with our children that when you're making a purchase, is it a wise purchase? Is it going to yield a return? Or is it truly the cash in the trash, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, we would go to the grocery store, for example, and the kids would say, hey, can we get this? Can we get that? And I would say, nope, it's not a wise purchase. Because how I grew up was no, we don't have the money.
Uh-huh.
And could you imagine what a disservice you're doing to a child when you tell them, no, we don't have the money? And the general curse that it then instills into their head and creates, and all of a sudden they're walking that out of, I grew up with, I don't have the money, and it gives a poverty mentality mindset.
Mm-hmm.
So if we shift that to, is that a wise purchase? Wise goes back to, is it going to yield us fruit? And if it's not going to yield us fruit, it's probably not wise. So did my children love hearing that? No, actually their response was this. Is that a wise purchase? Probably not, right? And then the child would go, oh, why? Because you got to buy another single family rental property? And opened up the discussion with their snotty little bratty voice that would say, hey, listen, who's this all for? Because at the end of the day, it's not going to stay with us. It's going to fall in your hands. So you should be grateful that mom and dad are stepping up, right? Mm-hmm. Whether they liked it or not, that is how they're going to remember us, as helping sow into their future, and how they're going to sow in turn back into their children's children's children. So we've got to create that generational wealth mentality of how to grow the nut. Right?
And
so as far as,
right, when they're younger like that.
Especially when they're younger. And you know what? It is, I hate to say it, I feel like they take it for granted. Why? Because they're around it all the time with us. We're constantly buying new acquisitions, and in the apartment space, and 128 units and 60 units, like they're around it all the time that it's almost taken for granted. Mm-hmm. Whereas the children's kids will come over, or children's friends will come over, and they'll hear us talking and they'll want to be a part of it. And like, oh my gosh, this is so intriguing and so cool. Where only imagine my teenagers are like, oh gosh, here they go again, right? But So with that being said, when it comes to mindset, yes, we pour into our children, of course, but who I really am on fire for is for women, because women do not realize how incredibly powerful they truly, truly are, right? Look at us as women. Here we are. Look, I'm starting to get emotional over it because we run the show when it comes to raising children and making sure we're the nurturer and we're helping to provide. Obviously, the husbands are, but it's really like we are the multitaskers, right? We are the ones that can get her done or get it done. And so when I think about the place and space that we're in, Melissa, being, buying apartment buildings and so forth, I hate to say it, but currently it's a man's world. And so it can be very intimidating for women to want to step in and step out and shine like a bright star. And so what I say is, watch out, men, because we are on a mission. And as we educate, as we equip, as we help other women to step out and not be in fear and jump into this space, game freaking on, right?
Agree.
If
I
we
agree
can run this
so
space
much.
that we do our home, holy smokes, it is no longer going to be a man's world in due time. And that's just because I'm rooting on women, and I know, without a shadow of a doubt, what we are capable of. So it's pretty wild.
I agree. And that's something, that I have felt very strongly about for some time. And part of the reason why I launched this podcast, I have talked to so many women recently, especially recently, that are just doing amazing things out there and nobody knows about them. And it breaks my heart because it's like, you're a badass. Like you need to be seen and heard right now. And you need to not be afraid to own these amazing things that you're doing. And it's almost like it's our responsibility. And that's really how I look at it. When you reach a certain level of success, it's really up to us. It's our responsibility to turn around and put our hand down and bring those other women up, because there's so many that want to do it, but I feel like their confidence has been shaken or it's lacking, or, they just don't feel like empowered enough maybe, or they don't feel like they have permission to do these things. And I say you have full permission to do this, and you can, and you are capable. And I think, you're a great example, of somebody that had everything, just, being a doctor and having all the, and then moving on to something that, that really has fulfilled you and has given you the opportunity to, teach your kids all these lessons. And anyone can do this. Anyone can do this.
I absolutely agree with you 100%, my friend.
What do you feel like has been an obstacle for you that you've had to overcome?
Listen, it's going to sound totally crazy, but I don't feel like there's been an obstacle. And maybe if I were to reflect back when I first got started into the multifamily space, I think probably my biggest obstacle, if I had to share one, it would be not realizing that this space is not a one-man show. Moving in the multifamily. Single family, absolutely, all day long you can dominate, no problem. But multifamily there is so much to it that it requires a learning curve far different than the single family. I hate to say the single family, you can kind of wing it and you're good, right? Mm-hmm. And multifamily, there's no winging it for a few different reasons. You're responsible for other people's money, so you best take care of it better than you do your own, number one. There's so many different hats. And if we discuss those hats, we're talking about raising money for the next deal, finding the deal, getting broker relationships, making sure you know how to underwrite and that it is a good deal, right? So there's all these different areas that you truly have to be great at in order to come together to have a wonderful deal and project and opportunity. So if you are trying to do that all yourself, like I was when I first got started, because I didn't realize and I didn't have anybody else to link arms with, it can be extremely taxing and very, very difficult. So I think that would probably be my biggest objection or hardship that I had getting into this space. But I also feel like there are so many ways to have a workaround on that. I don't think that it's wise to jump into a partnership right away and link up with people that you don't know or you're not comfortable with, that you haven't tried, worked on that relationship and built it up. But I will tell you, when you do find it, there is something that is wildly incredible that unfolds. And I'll just use Quattro Capital for an example. Here I am. I love acquisitions. I love negotiations. I love a deal. But my main hat that I'm wearing is equity relations, right? Whether it's linking with other investors, family offices, that type of thing. Well, I have other partners that are part of Quattro Capital that are project manager, another one that could literally be in a box underwriting in spreadsheets, right? So we each have the hat where we have the greatest strength. And let me tell you, after going all these years in life and having different businesses and being an entrepreneur, there is nothing more fulfilling than getting to stay in the lane in which I desire. Because I came from that trial of wearing all the different hats and how taxing it was and burdensome it was. And I feel like I've worked so hard to get to where I am. And now that I've honed in and I know where I am without a shadow of a doubt, where I flourish most, that is where at this time in my life, I desire to be and I get to be. And my partners are so uber grateful for me. At the same token, I am so uber grateful for them and their strength, right? Can I underwrite a property? I absolutely can. Is it best time well spent? It's not. It's not, but it is for my other partner, right?
Yep.
So with that being said, can you imagine, ladies, if you get to hone in on your craft and you get to walk out what it is that you want each and every day? Because my friend, to me, that's freedom. That's freedom. Getting to choose what I want to do with my time, with my family, on my terms, right? That's freedom to me. So
I agree. And that's what I always say when people say, well, how do you define success? And for me, it's the freedom to do what I want with who I want, when I want.
Yep.
Like you literally just nailed it. Like that is my go-to response for that question every time. And everybody has a different picture of success, but you're so right on talking about knowing your strengths and weaknesses. And I think sometimes, like I know for me, at least initially, it was hard because as women, like we are the multitaskers, right? We wear a lot of hats a lot of times, but then we have to take a step back after time and realize like, okay, I'm going crazy here. What do I want to do? What am I good at doing? And I should say, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should, like underwriting deals. I feel the same way. Like there are certain things like I don't want to, like stack lists and like do all this other stuff, like I can, but should I? No. I have a bookkeeping background, but do I want to keep my books anymore? No. That got delegated out, So I think understanding it's okay to ask for help or to lean on people or to hire people so that you can really be in the areas of your business that give you energy, that make you happy, and that play to your strengths. I think is key, right?
100%, my friend. Absolutely.
In your business, what is your jam? What is your wheelhouse, your specialty? What's your favorite thing to do?
I absolutely equity relations. I just love. I have such a love for people. And I think the reason that I have that love for people is because there's so much fruit that comes from it. And I'm not talking about monetary fruit. I'm not. That's just the spillover, right? My biggest thing is I love to find out what it is that people are needing and wanting in life. Because here's the deal. If I can help them get to their goal and meet a need, right? I become more valuable to them in an organic, beautiful way without having to manipulate anyone. It's just a matter of how can I help you move your needle forward? What does it look like for you in the future? What are you currently wanting? Because let's step back for a second. And Melissa, I bet you have experienced this. How many times have you received an email that says, hey, check out my 140 unit, da, 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 with all the information? How many times have you received one of those emails? Multiple, right? Hundreds. There is nothing that comes across to me as more dishonoring than that. Simply because I don't even know who you are, number one. Number two is I'm human. I like the human interaction. Take a moment to make me feel important and special. Mm-hmm. So if I know that that's what I desire, I know that people that I get the pleasure and the beauty of working with, that they too desire that. We all want to be in a place where we feel special and important and appreciated. And if we detour away from that, we've lost it. We've lost that human connection, right? And so for me, it's really about having those, those that could be solved by, hey, sending, even if it was just a text, Melissa, that, you know, say like you put one of those in my inbox, right? Hey, Erin, just thinking about you. We've got a really great opportunity. I know we haven't had a chance to talk. I'd love for you to take a look at it and see if it's up your alley. Let's get on a phone and talk shop. It's super simple if you're going to send out that mass email. But at the end of the day, I hate to say it this way, but I'm not a whore. Please don't use me just because you want my money.
Yeah.
I have goals and needs too, and I would hope that you would want to fulfill them and vice versa.
Well, this business is so relational, right? Like it's so dependent on relationships, you know, from dealing with sellers directly to dealing with, you know, your money people, your investors, your equity partners, you know, all those things. Like you have to build the relationship. And that's something that we found too over time. It's not always about the money. And that's, you know, when I'm talking to people, and I'm always mindful of that, like sometimes it's not the number, it's not the money that they're most concerned about, it's how you can help them solve their problem. And that's really where you want to put your focus, I feel like, at least.
Well, I think it goes back just to stack on what you just said. I think it's absolutely right. We are in a relationship. This is totally about relationships. And even more importantly, when we're working with people and it's a new relationship, I'll tell them, hey, listen, when you have a moment, go to our website, check out the incredible partners that I get the pleasure of being linked up with. As a matter of fact, you'll have a minute video from each of them and you'll get to learn a little bit about them. And let's be honest with one another. Within 60 seconds, you know whether or not you're gelling with this individual's personality and who and what they stand for, right? You just do, right? And so furthermore, an individual a lot of times is not just jumping in to do business with you because they like that 128 unit that you have. It's not. It's because they know you, they like you, and they trust you, right? And so they want to be linked up because they believe in you. So again, I feel like so many people are pressing the sale of their apartment, which is great. It should be good, right? But it's really about that relationship and that connection. And do they really care about me and my goals?
I agree. I agree. It's just it's so important to have those relationships and to really, I mean, especially when you're talking about money, you know, like you said, like you're not going to throw a bunch of money at somebody that you don't even know. You don't know if it's going to work out, if you can trust that person or not. And trust is huge when you're dealing with somebody else's money, especially if you're asking for, you know, these large sums of money that you need to invest in a multifamily property. You need to build that relationship. I couldn't dream of like just throwing something out there at a stranger and like, here you go, you know.
Right. Well, I mean, I think if we take it even further more, Melissa, think about it, even with all of the deals that are out there and coming out. I don't know about you, but I'm sure you probably see deals that you're like, what in the world is going on here? There's not even like the rents, they're bumping up so quickly in the first year. They think they can get all 100 of them rehabbed in that first year. And here's the thing, it's really sad because they're doing such a disservice to themselves, let alone the investor that's coming alongside of them, because them hitting that mark, it looks like it's going to be pretty tough or hard to attain, right? But I always tell people this, listen, we will always be conservative with our underwriting and our projections. Why? Because at the end of the day, we want nothing more than to underpromise and overdeliver. Why? Because we are not looking for a one-off. We are looking for to do multiple deals with you because you now are part of our family. And once you experience something great, you're never going to want to leave. Why? My hair's raising. Why? Because we fulfilled that business plan and got you and exceeded the expectations of what you thought it was going to put in your pocket.
I think that's an important point for people to remember too.
Right.
Under promise and over deliver always. And that's if you're dealing with multifamily or single family. And especially, I feel like this really resonates with me because this is how I operate when I'm wholesaling. You know, a lot of wholesalers, they put deals out and it's just, and I know you've probably seen a lot of the same deals I've seen here. And it's like, where are these numbers coming from? Like this repair estimate, this ARV you've put on this, like it's just like, how is this is not a deal kind of a thing. Whereas we're very conscious when we put wholesale deals out to make sure that we're leaving enough there for an end buyer. And we do that. We might lose a couple of $1,000s here and there, but we have repeat buyers all the time. We have people calling us for deals. We don't even have to send out deals half the time. People are calling Do you have anything? What do you got? What do you got? We need another deal. What do you got? They want to buy from us. And so it's taking that long-term view of the relationship. You might lose a couple of dollars here and there, but the relationship over time, you're going to make way more money.
That's amazing. That is such a reflection of your character, right? And so that's why you don't have to do any marketing, because when you do what's best for an individual, it's a win. I'll actually share a story, a quick one, really quick, if you don't mind, on this, because I think it's super, super important going back to doing what's right all the time, even when it's not in your best interest. I'll share two things actually with you. Number one, when I first got into acquiring my single family properties, I then fast forward went into creating a turnkey company. Why? Because I could be the wholesaler in Indianapolis where we tend to do business, and I could just sell it and do an assignment for $2,000. Or I could make it a turnkey, and I already, with my own properties, had a property manager, construction crew if we needed to do some things, so on and so forth. And so when I made it that turnkey, it was a matter of me making between, call it $7,000 and $10,000 per transaction that we did. So all of a sudden, here I am on this webinar, and I opened it up to Q&A, and all of a sudden this Q&A comes in and it goes, well, why should we work with you and your company versus ABC down the street? And I remember like gulping, like, and I straight out was just said it like this. I said, listen, I've only been in this space for the last year and a half, and all I'm here to do is share with you what's working for me. And here's the deal. You're probably better off with going with ABC down the street because they've been at it for 10 years. And with me, I will tell you this much. When I came into the space, I was buying for $50,000 the same caliber of home that I am selling to you for $40,000. So you're already coming in far better than the positioning that I had, right? And I'm still making it a win for you. But it probably is going to behoove you to go with ABC company because they've got the stack. So what happens? Two things. I didn't manipulate them. I gave them a better deal, right? Than what I had to come in. The barrier of entry was lower. And I took it off the table. And I said, they're better, go with them. Why? Because most people that are trying to sell whatever it is, their lotion, potion, whatever, is always just going to toot rainbows and butterflies. Mm-hmm. And so people are used to being oversold. But when you take it off the table, they see your true character, that you're not in desperation and that you're going to do what's right for people and by people. And as long as you stick to that, it's game over. Fast forward, we went on to do 230 buy and sell transactions within a 3-year time frame without even being a real estate agent, because word got out and it travels fast when you do good business.
Exactly. And then you get those testimonials to really build up the credibility too, because there's nothing better than somebody else tooting the horn for you, right? You don't even have to do it anymore. You treat people right enough. And I keep the sign in my office, and it's like, do what's right, not what's easy. Because a lot of times doing the right thing isn't the easy thing. It is difficult to do the right thing sometimes, right and wrong is objective, of course, but I think it's for each person. Like what I know is the right thing, what feels right for me isn't always easy, but you do it because I want to be able to sleep at night, right?
I'm telling you, Melissa, you are a rare gem. For you listeners that are hearing Melissa speak, if you have not done business with her, this is the exact person that you're looking to do business with. And I'm going to share one more story with you, if that's okay, Melissa.
Yeah.
Listen, it is not all rainbows and butterflies in this space of real estate whatsoever. Unfortunately, all we hear about is the rainbows and butterflies. Nobody wants to share their call it shit side or a story that just unfolded in the wrong direction. But you know what? I feel impressed to share this with you, and I'm going to, because sometimes it's good to just air the dirty laundry of things that have gone wrong, because there are failures. But remember, those failures are always there to make us stronger. Mm-hmm. And I will never forget, I had 3 individuals that were buying single family properties from me, and they had sent their money to the title company. And the next morning I was supposed to get paid my over 6 figures on these 3 properties. And I woke up with a real big gut feel of not so good. And I called the title company. I said, hey, when are those funds coming over? And they said, hey, we have a little bit of a snag, but we'll be sure to get them to you tomorrow. I woke up the next day and I knew they weren't coming. And sure enough, I had been embezzled by a false escrow company that I had already done business with that ended up being fraud.
Oh,
So
no.
listen, here I am. The investors sent their money to title. I never got the money. So in all honesty, I could take those 3 homes and I could keep them because I never got paid. I'm sorry that they lost their money. But is that the right thing to do? I remember praying hard saying, Lord, what in the world do I do in this case? And I was like dumbfounded. I was shocked. I was sad. I was mortified. I couldn't believe it. And he said, you know what? It's just money. It's easy to make. Do the right thing all the time, and I will abundantly provide for you. And I could start crying right now because it was such a pivotal moment for me. I didn't even go back to those 3 investors and tell them what had happened. Was it going to help my situation? No. But I literally gifted those 3 properties, over $100,000 to these investors. And I remember for 2 weeks just being mortified, like sad, how dare, where did I screw up? How did this happen? But let me tell you, he rewards those that do the right thing. He truly does. And I look at my life now and I say, you know what? For the hiccups that I've had and the abundance that I've been blessed with, it's because when we're going through trials and there's that pressure, there is always blessing around the corner, but if we look for it.
Mm-hmm.
I could have very well said, to hell with this. I'm done with this real estate stuff. Is this really what it looks like? I'm out. And I would never have the blessing of all that I have and where we have gone had I been a weak suck and tapped out. So anyhow, I hope that resonates with you, that look, life can be hard, and you just have to be willing to break through and to continue to take action, because I promise you on the other side, there you will find the rainbows in due time.
I love that. And I'm so, thank you for sharing that, because I think that, you know, enough people don't talk about the losses, and it doesn't matter how long you've been doing this. I've been doing this for 18 years. I still screw up from time to time. I still, every once in a while, you've got, you know, just a shit deal, something goes sideways, and, you know, it's just, but how are you going to react to it? What are you going to learn from it? How are you going to react to it? And then, you know,
Yeah.
are you going to make it right? And, you know, sharing that just so that people can understand it isn't always so easy. It isn't always, you know, just fat stacks of cash everywhere. You know, you do run into these kind of things where sometimes you got to buy a property back that, you know, or something, just like a lot of things like that.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. So this has been really great, and I so appreciate you coming on and sharing with us. You're so smart, and I cannot wait for us to be able to meet in person. If people want to reach out to you and connect with you, how can they do that?
Sure. Go ahead and hit up thequattroway.com, and that is QUATTRO, thequattroway.com. And when you get there, again, you'll be able to meet that lovely team and the brilliant partners I have at Quattro Capital. And furthermore, you can book an appointment with me right from there. And I would truly, I am on such a mission to help women win in this space, and you men, if you're listening. But for women, I just have a heart, because we, again, are unstoppable and so incredibly powerful. And you may not even know it, but I can promise you, if you surround yourself around Melissa, if you meet up and talk with people like me, I will help get that fire that is there, and I will light it under your fanny, and you will have uber success, and we will help you walk this out. Why? Because you know what? If I can help you get what you want, I already know I'm going to get what I want. And it blesses me so much to see other women win in this space. So happy to connect with you, talk shop for 15 minutes or so, and let's figure out how we can help move your needle forward.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much, Erin. It was great. And I look forward to us connecting again soon.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Melissa. I appreciate you.